If your coin total is mudded after Team of the Year and you want to get some back, make sure you check out MMOXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you use my code Rema, you can get 5% off all your orders. This supports the channel greatly, and I do very much appreciate it. So what's up guys, my name's Ash, and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video guys, we've got some custom tactics and player instructions for the 4-3-1-2 formation. This one was made popular by Boras Legend, so I thought I'd give it a go. Boras is a really top guy in the FIFA community, one of the nicest guys I've ever had the pleasure of speaking to. I owe a lot of what I've got on this channel to him, so honestly I really do appreciate Boras as a guy. But anyway, before we get into today's video, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop this video a thumbs up, as that does really help the YouTube search algorithm. Also subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, let's get right into today's video. So for defensive style guys, I like to use balance. The reason for this is it gives you the greatest control over your defense, where you can press when you need to and you can be more conservative and drop off when you need to do that also. So it does give you the very much needed control in defense to really help your defensive game. Some people like using pressure tactics, but I'm not really a fan. That being said, if you are more comfortable with them, then go right ahead. Now for the defensive width, I have this on 42 because FIFA 23 primarily is quite a narrow game, which means we have to cover those central areas to stop the players just passing through the middle. That being said, people do obviously go for those cutbacks all the time, but honestly I've tried super high whips and there's nothing you can really do to stop it. So the best option is to be as defensively compact as you can in the middle and do the best you can to stop those cutbacks, because honestly it's just a broken FIFA mechanic. Now moving on to depth guys, I have this on 60. The reason being is I used to have this on 72, but I noticed I was getting through ball too often and I was just too exposed all the time. You know, I really underestimated the power of those through balls, so I've lowered it to 60 so we still keep a decently high line so we can win the ball higher at the pitch, but at the same time we do sit a little bit deeper to prevent us getting through balled all the time. I like to have it on 60 because I don't want to feel like I'm constantly pinned back, so it's been a really nice number for me. Now moving on to build up play guys, I have this on balance. This is because it suits you up for the different types of FIFA 23 gameplay you will experience. What I mean by this is sometimes the game will be fast and heavy, sometimes it will be slow and heavy, sometimes it will be fast and laggy. There's so many different types of FIFA 23 gameplay, so it's important that you use balance so you're suited up for all the different types you may experience, because I do enjoy using something like fast build up sometimes when the gameplay is quick, but when the gameplay is slower it's too difficult to actually keep up with the speed your players are moving at, so I just go with balanced as it suits most gameplay types. Now moving on to chance creation, as always I suggest direct passing. The reason for this is if you look at the diagram in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, you can see the white dots, which are your attackers. They're constantly moving around in that dynamic motion to break through the defensive line, so it does make it very easy to create those chances. If you look at something like balance, this doesn't happen. Your players are very static, which means it can actually be very difficult to actually create any chances, so direct passing is super important in my opinion. Now moving on to the attacking width, I have this on 40. The reason for this is the 4-3-1-2 is obviously a narrow formation, so it makes sense that we want to play it in a more narrow style. If you have the width too high, this formation doesn't play out too well in my opinion, so it's important to keep that lower width so you really get the narrow feel out of it. It's also easier to link up the play quickly because your players are a bit close together, so yeah, I do suggest having a lower attacking width, and when we do need to get extra width you'll see what we do in the player instructions. Now for players in box, I'm currently using this on 6. This is so we do get players into the box so we can obviously create chances, but at the same time we're not completely overcommitting our entire team so we get counter-attacked all the time. I kind of have this between 5 and 6 depending on how I'm feeling, but it doesn't make too much of a difference, but anywhere between like 4 and 7 I would say is okay, but I'm just currently using this on 6. As for corners and free kicks, I just have these both on 1 because my corner, like my set piece routine, doesn't require me crossing the ball. I've posted a video on this yesterday on how I take my corners and it is super effective, so if you want to check that out there is a link to it in the top right hand corner of the screen. But yeah, corners and free kicks are down to preference. Now for the players you want to use guys, because this is a 2 striker formation, in the striker positions you do have a bit more variety of the players you choose. What I always say is with a 1 striker formation like the 4-2-3-1, you kind of have to compensate for the fact that there's 1 striker instead of 2, and you kind of have to get all the balance in into one player, but in this formation you can get the balance between two strikers. So what I like to do is I have one more creative striker in Di Maria, someone that can still finish chances, but someone that offers a bit more of a variety in that striker position. So he's got like the 5-star skills, he's a technical dribbler, so he just adds a bit more variety to our attack. And then in the right striker position, I have more of a clinical finisher, a poacher in Robbie Keane, someone that's always going to finish those chances. So I like to have that dynamic between the two strikers. Now in the cam position, you just want one of those technical players, someone that can dribble, someone that has pace, someone that can shoot, pass, basically a good all-round attacking player. You don't want to go for somebody that is super clunky, because you're going to find it difficult to create chances, as this player is like the main playmaker in the formation. So it's important you go for a technical, agile player in this position. Now in the left centre mid spot, I like to use a box-to-box midfielder, so I'm using the flashback Paul Pogba. You want somebody that has very well-rounded stats, somebody that can attack and defend, and if you can, get somebody with a high work rate. But for example, this Paul Pogba has a high medium work rate and he works absolutely fine. You just need to go for a very well-rounded midfielder in this position. Now in the middle centre mid spot, I go for a more defensive midfielder. This is someone that's going to act like a CDM, and they're going to stay back and help add defensive support. So I'm using the flashback Jorginho. He's got a medium high work rate, he's got very good defensive stats, and that is super important for this position. The medium high work rate is preferred, but if you can't get that, it's not a complete necessity, it's just something I do suggest if you can get it. Now in the right centre mid spot, we actually use an attacker, so I'm using Jorginho. You want somebody that is very good in attack, because they are going to play as another attacker in this formation. Now it might seem a little confusing now, but the player instructions will make great sense of this. So if you can, also make the attacker a high player, as it really does help with the transitional play, but don't worry too much. You want to go for somebody like Neymar, Mbappe, Messi, you know, somebody that's an attacking player in this position, because that is their role. Now moving on to the fullbacks, I like to go for a bit of a balance, so I have one more attacking fullback in Roberto Carlos. This is somebody that's really going to help us when we go forward, and then we have one more defensive fullback in Cafu. This is somebody that's going to stay back and add defensive support. I like to go for that balance. That being said, if you want to have two defensive fullbacks or two attacking fullbacks, that is completely fine. As for the centre backs and goalkeeper, these just need to be as good as you can possibly get them, and I'm still using Chesney for chemistry in this team. Now for player instructions, guys, on the left striker, the more creative striker, I just have stay central and I leave everything else alone. We have him on stay central because we don't want this player drifting off to the wings, as we still need him to be in those striking areas to really stay connected to the rest of the team. If you have him on like drift wide or balance width, sometimes he gets very disconnected and he doesn't get involved, so stay central, super important. And we have him on mixed attack, importantly, because we don't just want this player to run in behind all the time. Like I said, he acts as a creator sometimes, so sometimes we might want him to sit a little bit deeper to pick the ball up there and help create the attack. So yeah, mixed attack, stay central on the left striker. Now on the right striker, our more poacher striker, we have stay central and getting behind. Stay central is the same. We don't want this player drifting off to the wings. We need him to be in those central areas, so he's always in the areas to finish off those chances. And we have getting behind because we constantly want this player to make those runs. He is the finisher. We need him to make those runs and we want him to get the most chances possible. And this kind of dynamic works between the two strikers, because when Robbie Keane is running in behind for me, sometimes Di Maria is sitting a little bit deeper, so we can pick up the ball and even play in Robbie Keane, who is making that run. So yeah, left striker stay central, mixed attack, right striker stay central, getting behind. Now moving on to the cam, I just have him on comeback on defense. The reason for this is going to make this team defend as a 4-4-2. So by putting the cam on comeback on defense, he's going to come back to defend as a left midfielder in this team. So we're going to defend in a 4-4-2. So the way this will work is Chiesa will be a left midfielder, Pogba will be a left centre mid, Jorginho will be a right centre mid, and Jorginho will be a right mid. The reason we do this is because the 4-4-2 is one of the best defensive formations, so it makes this attack good in attack and defence. Now for the left centre mid, the box-to-box player, we just have him on cover centre. The reason we have him on cover centre is because we want him to defend as one of the centre mids in this 4-4-2 thing. If we have him on cover wing, he will go to the wings, and we don't really want that. So we have him on cover centre, so he defends as one of the middle centre mids, and we leave everything else alone because this player is going to attack and defend, so we don't want to restrict them too much. So yeah, we just leave them on like basic settings. Now for the middle centre mid, the defensive midfielder, we have him on stay back while attacking and cover centre. We have him on stay back while attacking because this is a defensive player. We don't want him to go forward. His sole purpose is to add defensive support to the team. And again, we have him on cover centre because we want him to cover those middle, we want him to be one of the middle centre mids in this 4-4-2 thing. So by having him on cover centre, it means he'll sit as the right centre mid next to Paul Pogba, so it does work very well. Now for the right centre mid, the attacking player, we have get forward, get into the box for cross and cover wing. We have him on get forward, so he really does add to the attack because he is another attacker, so we do want him in those attacking areas. We have him on get into the box for cross, so he does get involved. If you have him on balanced crossing runs, sometimes he won't get involved in the attack when we get to the penalty box, so it's important we have him on get into the box for cross, so he is always making those transitional runs. And we have him on cover wing, so he will defend as a right mid in this 4-4-2, so it does work very well, guys. As for the left back, my more attacking fullback, I have balanced attack and overlap. The reason I do this is because this formation is pretty narrow, so we do want to add extra width when we go forward. So by having our left back on balanced attack and overlap, it adds extra width to the team, so we have more passing options, more attacking options, and it makes the team flow a little bit better. When you come up against those top players, you really do need to add width when possible, so this works very well. As for the right back, we have stay back while attacking and overlap because we have him on stay back because he's our more defensive fullback, so we always have at least 3 defenders back. And we have him on overlap because let's say I do trigger a run forward with him, we want him to overlap instead of making those inverted runs, so we do get extra whip. So stay back while attacking on right back with overlap. As for the centre backs and goalkeeper, I just leave them alone completely. But yeah guys, they are my custom tactics and player instructions for the 4-3-1-2 formation. If you guys have enjoyed or found this useful, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.